Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. I'm Zemo, the dad in DPS, and today we are back with more information about Dune Awakening and more stuff about the gameplay. Now, if you didn't know already, the people at Funcom had released a bunch of gameplay footage for the Gamescom launch of what they were doing there, and with that, about a day later, they released a further 26 minutes of gameplay and footage and things like that. And we're going to talk about that today, have a little look into it and see how it goes. I am absolutely in awe of this game. I'm so looking forward to it. And I'm hoping that you guys are as well, because this is honestly going to be, I hope, my game of 2025 when it finally does to release. But without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into the trailer. So, obviously, the main thing, well, the first thing I should say, not the main thing, I love the look of the game. It fits the aesthetic so well. And the fact that they have, at least in these images and these videos, captured the spirit of Dune really, catches me. I just love the way this looks. And the UI is quite interesting. I love the little, it's got the sunstroke gauge at the top, but at the bottom you've also got the little sandworm gauge. So this means you need to balance, making too much noise, awakening the sandworm, and you also need to balance how long you spend in the sun. And this is a mechanic that I don't really see a lot in survival type games. You do tend to get if you're too cold or not warm enough, but sunstroke is a completely different thing. It's basically a thing that can kill you in real life quite easily, and it's not just a case of, oh, I'm too hot. It's a case of your brain just kind of goes, ugh, and then it has an actual real world effect on you. So the fact that they're trying to incorporate that into the game and cause you to lose your fluids more, and then as a result then kill you, it's a whole thing that I think is a very good mechanic. Balancing your water, your sun gauge, not making too much noise so the sandworm doesn't show up is an absolutely fantastic thing to add into the game, and really adds that survival element. On top of that, you don't really have a sandworm in many other survival games. Now, here you can see it scrapping stuff and obtaining resources, and I like that it's got this kind of slight little mini game. It doesn't look overly complicated, it's not too convoluted. One of the things I hate in other games is where you spend hours just hacking at a freaking pile of rock. At least with this, you're scanning it, zzz, gone. It's something that looks like you could do relatively quickly and get through it. And then we've also got the spice gauge that pops up, which is another survival mechanic in the game, where if you get too much spice, you will get a big debuff and potentially die and all manner of different things, because spice in Dune is basically a hallucinogen and, does some weird, wacky, wonderful crap. Now, with this part, they have a bunch of different things involving the movement, and I love the suspensor belts. It's, it reminds me of the movie, obviously, because they've got the same Harkonnen aesthetic as the movie, but this, the whole fact that you can use a grappling hook to launch yourself, and then the suspensor belt to maintain your momentum, is absolutely amazing. It's a very fun way, and when it comes to games in general, I think movement systems tend to be a key focus, and should be. Games that are too slow and too take your pace aren't necessarily everybody's thing, and I think they've nailed it with the movement speed in this kind of thing. And the fact that you can, get to the top of cliffs, jump down into bases, attack them from different angles and do different things is a big draw for me. It makes me think of so many other games out there that I've I've played in the past, what things that come to mind are like BioShock with the skyhooks, Apex Legends with being able to fly about and do all the kind of things like that, Assassin's Creed games. There's so many games that have interesting movement systems that help draw you in, and this can be incorporated into Dune's combat, which is a big pull, because you want interesting combat, you want different abilities, different things, and you're showing here the obviously one type of playstyle, I forget what they said the character type that is, but you're saying you can use all these things just to go about and do all these crazy shenanigans, and I think that is, it's looking amazing. Now, they do have the Blade Master archetype as well, that they kind of showcase in here, where they use different abilities and different things, but you see, like, there's an execution there. Now, I'm gonna leave a link to this video down below because I don't think I should replace it with my content. I just wanted to talk about this and let people see that there's more trailers, more stuff out there that you know you can look at. I don't think this is the Blade Master one. Did I miss the Blade Master one? Ah, there we go. This is the Blade Master stuff. So you're seeing like the like the movement changes depending on how you go about it as well. Like Blade Masters have abilities that allow them to zoom in and kick people in the face. And this is going to be the interesting thing of like when Dune's mechanics in terms of builds and things like that. It's not as simple as you are a Blade Master, you are, you know, a scout, you are this or that. It's a case of you can mix and match stuff. You learn certain skill sets from different trainers in the game, and then you can mix and match it and change your playstyle to suit you. It's not just a case of being, you know, able to use the voice in order to manipulate people and see things going on like he just did there. It is just a case of you're going to be able to do everything on one individual character, just not all at the one time. You'll need to tweak your abilities, add and equip different things, but it just gives a lot more flavour to the game because obviously there's always going to be one best build. There always is in a lot of games, but I'm hoping they manage to avoid that and they have a load of different builds that actually counteract each other and allow you to do different things. Now, it's at this point they started showing off the build mechanics, and it's pretty standard fare for survival games where you make bases. You know, you see like a holographic outline of the thing you're trying to put down. It's what I kind of expect, but the good thing about Dune is the blueprint factor of it, where you can place the blueprints down and then build them later. You don't need to build it, you know, in the one go. I can basically plan out my entire base before I've even built it, within reason, obviously, because if I can't reach to put stuff up, it's not going to do it. But then you can also take that blueprint and move it around, which reminds me of, in a sense, sort of Fallout 76. You can sort of move your base, but unless things are directly connected to each other, it doesn't move in the same way. This, on the other hand, you can move the entire blueprint, rebuild your base, and get things where you need it to be. And then the only real thing that you need to do is, you know, have the resources to do it. I think it's a very, very cool building mechanic. The fact that you can build round buildings is also a big appealing thing to me. It always seems to be squares in games like this where you're building bases. Always seems to be, let's make everything really square and really blocky looking, and then you end up with just basically adult version of Lego. And this is something they showed in the other trailer. You can obviously add in things like rugs and different little doodads onto your base. There's different machines that do different things. There's the blood purifier, which turns blood into water and allows you to replenish your water tanks and things like that. So there's lots of different mechanics to base building that are going to be interesting. We don't know the full extent of it yet because obviously we don't have the game, but it is something I am really looking forward to getting into because these bases look amazing. And the fact is, he's built a goddamn parking garage for that big sand crawler or speeder or whatever it's going to be called in the game. And you're seeing like there, it was acquiring designs. So you can acquire different designs for different parts to make different vehicles, to make different like parts for your vehicles, sand bike bodies, all these kind of things. You can customize your vehicles and create something that not necessarily is your own, but you can make it look the way you want it, have different things to it. You know, make a sand bike that maybe has more offensive capabilities or more defensive capabilities, that's faster, that's designed for distracting sandworms. There's going to be loads of aspects to this, and I'm looking forward to, you know, working with you guys, because this is a big factor for me. I want to be able to play games with you guys, and if we can do some crazy shenanigans in the desert and trick sandworms and then steal all the spice for ourselves while dropping tanks from ornithopters and blowing up enemy teams, I'm going to be very happy. Like, everything about this is just, it's It's everything I've wanted in an MMO, everything I've wanted in a survival game in one package. And it's so unique is a word I don't really want to use because unique is, I think, overused in game development these days. But it feels different. It feels unlike anything I've really seen to this extent. At least games I've been interested in, games I want to play. And it just looks so smooth and easy, ergonomic. And I think it's going to be fantastic. Now, I don't think I could get away with not talking about the dynamic events that happen during the game. Now, this is one that they're saying that a ship's crash landed, you need to gather resources. There's going to be other dynamic events in the game of maybe it's rescue missions or, you know, like people in distress. And this is something I love about, you know, open world games, is that these things happen in real time in the environment and you need to react to them. And sometimes you won't be in a position to go, maybe I should get these resources. And other times you'll be like, I'm in a freaking tank. So the fact that you're going to be able to interact with these kind of things, people will be fighting you over the resources. How badly, I don't know yet. We won't know yet. But I love this idea that the world is going to have these things that happen in real time. And this is another one where in the evening, if you are out in the open and you're caught by these searchlights, the Sardaukar will drop down and beat you to death. Or you beat them to death, you know. Depends on how good your gear is, I suppose. But you're seeing, he's been caught. And he's about to get attacked by the space pigs. Now we move to the flower sand kind of thing they've got in the video. And this is honestly one of my favourite mechanics, because you are obviously out there with your friend and you are gathering this flower sand. You know, you're using your tech and your abilities in order to gather this sand up in order to use it for resources and other things in the game. And as you can see, as we briefly talked about, this activity is causing the sandworm to, you know, go into a near aggressive state. And the more that you interact with the flower sand, the more resources you gather, then, you know, you're asking for trouble. And this is where the worm comes in. And these are the kind of things that I like, because what you could do in this open world aspect is you could sabotage other people with these kind of things, because you see a bunch of people doing stuff and the sandworm's coming. You could always go over and deliberately try and trigger a sandworm event in order for you, when they're being chased, to swoop in and try and gather the resources, because the worm can only go after one group of people at a time. So it opens up this whole world for trolling. Oh god, I love the ornithopters. I love the idea that you're just going to be able to build them and fly about in them. Though I'm curious about how durable they are and how easy it is to remake them, because I'm going to guarantee I'm going to crash. And this is the travel system. Like when you go out of the Haga Basin, it lets you go and go to the other locations. And I think they're controlling this to an extent. Like you're doing it with your cursor and it's kind of just like following your cursor. So if you decide you want to go to a different location, you can actually just turn around and go another way, from my understanding of it. I don't actually know fully, but I think like they are to an extent controlling that, which looks really interesting. Now they go into this whole thing about different emotes and abilities to communicate with players. That's kind of given if you're making an MMO. But this is where my real interest, I say my real interest, I'm interested in all of it. This is where a big part of my interest lies. They're talking about how different builds complement different other builds. So, you know, I think the real aspect of moving about in the game is going to be that you're going to have people that are tanking, distracting, sitting back, attacking from a distance. And this is a factor that I think is fantastic. And that is, there is dungeons going to be in this game. Now, I think it's kind of a given in an MMO that there should be some sort of dungeon system. There should be something that you go in to get, you know, loot and farm and go through and attack, and there should be. But with, you know, a lot of games these days, it isn't quite as clear cut as that. Sometimes They don't have them in the traditional sense. Sometimes they don't have them in any real sense. But this is something that is confirmed. There will be like strongholds that you go in and you need to conquer and beat the crap out of. And you can see here the different abilities and different things that you are going to be able to do to conquer these guys. And you can see some of these enemies are using shields, and obviously certain projectiles do not work against shields. So against those enemies, you're going to need to potentially use melee combat or use things like flamethrowers and work your way around these different enemies based on the abilities that you have and the abilities the enemies have and the abilities that your teammates have. Overall, this just looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm so hyped for it. I'm so excited. I'm so ready for this game to come out, but it's not coming for another year, and it's heartbreaking. And I say it's heartbreaking. I mean, it's coming. I know it's coming. And the excitement is just palpable. Now, this is something we also saw in the other trailer, and it's the PvP aspect of it. Because you're seeing here, you can drop tanks from harvesters, tanks and harvesters from your ornithopters, and then take a spice hunt from people in the main PvP area, and then obviously use thumpers to summon the big guy. But this is the kind of end game thing. PvP is the end game of Dune, and it's something that I am very interested in as well. But everything, the whole thing, just sums up to me to be looking amazing. I hope everything goes well. I hope everything is the way I expect it to be. And I hope it gets my expectations. Now, I'd say to everybody, don't count your chickens before they're hatched. This game could flop like so many others. But I don't think it will. Funcom have proven that they can do well in the survival genre. And they've done a blinder so far with selling it to me. The aesthetic of the game, the way the combat looks, the abilities, everything. And this is only the game at launch. Think of what they're going to do in the future. Think of the expansions they're going to make. Think of all the different things they're going to add. And when my mind goes to Conan Exiles, that game has a thriving community and it looks fantastic. I've played it. It plays fantastic as well. Overall, I'm hyped. And with that, I'll have to end because I'll catch you all next time on Arax.